Welcome back, one and all, to the Golden Spatula Cup number 2. We arrive at the turning point of day 1. We will have our players find themselves safety or in incredibly grave peril coming into game number 6. And it's kind of it here with Panda and Witter. Once again, guys, we've got a pretty good lobby for our 5th game.
We do. Lots of big names that it's a bit surprising to see them actually in this kind of cutoff position where they have to win or do very well, maybe a 3rd place and above to really try and secure a place in day 2. Names that I mentioned earlier, of course, Snoodyboo, someone that I'm very happy to see, but just overall Skipaeus as well, names that have done so well in past tournaments but are now maybe not the first day, but just kind of an average day of TFT and need to kind of step on the gas coming to the final 2 games.
Yeah, definitely. Brubbba is also a player that has he's pretty good again at the game, and a player we've seen perform and get to these day 2s in the past. Had that famous pizza clip, right, where he just went out and got pizza doing one of the GSCs after he hit Warwick free or something. That was that's a good moment in history of the game for sure. Zyko, another player that we're looking for. Yeah.
So, well, Mace was also mentioning Zbrojson from Poland coming into this one as another player we're kind of surprised to see. Did incredibly well on the world stage.
Are you sure? He won GSC number 3, right? Like, it's pretty hard to do better in this circuit than winning a tournament, right? That is something that is worth remembering as well. A player that is very, very, very good at the game. This lobby is just stacked with players. Zyko, also former world participant. Like, this is a very, very, very stacked lobby right now. Slicks is one of the highest placed players on the EU Nordic East ladder.
Weirdly enough, Guido, mentioning the player Slicks, seeing his image, the avatar going into this lobby and his name, it hit me. I actually casted this player in a different auto battle in Underlords 3 or 4 years ago, and I had forgotten entirely about this memory, but I saw the image and I'm like, this is the same guy. So happy to see him doing well on the TFT stage as well, and going into this game 5, hopefully seeing a good result from him. So one thing I have to mention though, Mirage trait is going to be Dawnbringer's Determination. No spells or enchantment, but still definitely a viable Mirage comp, leaning a bit more on Nunu, for example, and Deja in this case.
Yeah, it also means that you're going to be needing more heavy AP on Deja, right? Because you get more time to scale in with the additional HP, especially when you get 6 Mirage, you get that 2nd heal coming through. Okay, David. Portable Forge, uplink, grab back. What are you taking here?
They're all decent options. Portable Forge, some of the items got nerfed a little bit, quite a few patches ago, so maybe not as auto pick as it used to be. I think Cybernetic, Uplink, and Shell, and maybe not so much. I think especially those 2 are going to be always, depending on what you're going for. The board right now looks like Bruiser's Skill Scorn, so maybe the Skill Scorn angle.
Do you want the sense bet then, right? So do you have anything to add here, Peter? Right? Like, this is a pretty.
Well, the thing that kind of jumped up to me, at least, I was kind of thinking that maybe Brubbba might be going the Mirage direction, given that they've got a chance to get the Mirage spat in right now, but the units certainly don't line up particularly well for them. I'm sure we're going to be seeing somebody going for it though.
It is an early Olaf and an early Skarner too. You can't really, not go that route if you're given it. Olaf isn't what he used to be, isn't as scary as he used to be. You have to kind of high roll or have everything work in your favor for it to really pop off, as we saw in game 1, for example, with Skill Scorn 6. I think not something that Brubbba can chase in this game, but you can still have a fairly good game with a good start for Olaf, which I think this might be it.
Well, this is something we wanted to kind of pitch out to you guys, because when we saw Scalescorn doing before, as you said, Panda, it was the most extreme version of Scalescorn imaginable. Is there a place in the meta right now for playing, Assassin Olaf without that kind of high roll?
It's gonna depend. If you have the rest of your opponents have comps that really, like Deja, for example, that really have to rely on one singular backline carry, and you're not able to clump really as effectively, it can still be very good, simply off of positioning, simply off of sniping off, and having a very strong stage 3 and 4, where you're kind of getting huge HP leads on players that aren't able to do anything about it because they have a 1-star Tristana, a 1-star Deja, for example. It can't work out very well, but there are some lobbies where there's just Jade comps, that everything's clumped up, and your Olaf does nothing.
Your boy Snoodyboo, Panda, has taken clear mind. Is that something that he tends to do a lot? I quite like the augment. We talked a bit about it in the pre-game, I think, right? For me, it's one of my favorite augments. It really helps you accelerate yourself into a higher state of mind, right? But is this something that he has a lot of experience with? Because it can be quite a tricky augment to pull through.
I would say he's very flexible overall. He doesn't really. There are some players that stick more to the meta stuff, more to the tier 1, tier 0, look at stats and winner percentages. He's someone that's very open, maybe like a lesser version of Double 61. Not as adaptable, but definitely high up there compared to most other players. So I think he can definitely work with this augment. He has picked it a few times in the past from when I've seen on his streams on ladder. So definitely not the first time. I think this is an augment where if you don't have the experience of playing it already, you're going to be very dizzy. You're not going to know exactly how to really get the maximum value from this augment, but he's definitely not going to be in that position, I think.
Well, talk us through, how is the game going to change for Snooty here compared to a regular game of TFT?
You're looking at here, I mean, his bench is going to be empty. It's going to be much harder to hit upgrades unless he finds them in a shop. Luckily, I think it's going to be more about maximizing the XP at the beginning, getting a loss streak, and then kind of dumping that in and trying to go for a win streak after that, and kind of getting these burst rounds where you're able to actually hold your pairs and actually roll down and try and find the upgrades.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment as well. I think something else that's also worth noting here is that Snooty is 1 cane away from potentially hitting and activating a very, very, very powerful economic lever right now. Lots of those are being turned all over the world here. Also an open spat here as well.
Zbrojson's going to be the one to grab hold of it, so we'll have a quick look and see. They've got a few different options on their bench. I don't believe we've had a chance to check in with our Polish representative yet, so hopefully we'll get to see exactly what they've got in mind for that Spatula.
Yeah, Brubbba though has he opened with the spat, no?
Yeah, he would have liked he had the Earth, would have liked to maybe loose streak a bit harder considering he's on second pick in the carousel.
He has a gloved Olaf. That's an Olaf, no? I'm not tripping.
Yeah, but would have maybe preferred the Fawn right away and not forced into the skill scoring comp, into the Olaf comp possibly. Maybe just prefers having the option for Assassin Olaf right away.
I mean, it just gives you direction. Direction is powerful. Having free gold is not powerful, but we will make do with that, I suppose. Maybe it was a bit of a cheeky roll to try to gain that there, but can make the economy breakpoint back here. So clear direction, needs to find the Olaf too, and then he's just set.
Yeah, I mean, Brubba's kind of very much in the middle of the pack with no money, and he said there was a small loss streak going, but unfortunately, Snooty's probably going to break that as well. I mean, what's this going to mean for Brubbba if they're caught in this kind of no man's land of not having a streak and not having much in the bank either?
It's quite dangerous. This is a comp where you're very vulnerable to, if you low roll, your game's over. If you're not able to have enough gold to get 3-star Olaf into the late game, if you're not able to win streak with what you're seeing here, if you're holding pairs of 3-star or 3-cost carries and you don't hit that 2-star Olaf for whatever reason until stage 4, for example, your game's pretty much over. It's a dangerous position to be in. If it works out, great. You're going to hit your comp. You're going to be probably alone on it because no one's really forcing skill scoring in this patch as they used to, a month or a month and a half ago. But it's a dangerous position to be in. Right now, if that Olaf pair stays a pair for all of the stage, he might be in trouble econ-wise.
Are we checking with Skipaeus? Of course, we haven't got to see too much of them, but they have got their win streak intact. The only player to have kept it all the way through stage number 2. They have got a little bit of money in the bank. They could choose to level up here to guarantee that little bit more, but they're not going to do that. Going to trust that the frontline Cannoneer Aatrox is good enough to carry them through stage 2. And this is going to be a pretty tough fight, I think.
Have the Rage Blade on the Yone 2, so very strong damage carry to start. Well, not even in stage 3 yet, and the Braum 2 as well. So overall, pretty strong. We'll see. I mean, overall, a lot of upgrades on both of these players. Skipaeus is win streaking for a reason. If he wins this fight, which I think he is going to be able to with his Aatrox, just able to heal and stall out for the Archangels on the Jinx to actually pop off in the Senna as well. That's going to be a 5-win streak. Oh, Jinx, what are you doing? It's all good. Senna has your back and still gets the 5-win streak. 20 gold econ breakpoint, able to get that huge win streak going to Krug. So very good position for Skipaeus overall.
Goes 20, goes 30. That is very, very strong indeed. You're talking about here. Cannoneer Crest, though, is not really an augment that I like to pick, even if I'm angling for playing Corki. Like, again, it could just be a situation of having worse augment choices here, but it's not something that I'd be like, okay, that's the Biz augment.
I will check in on our economy overall since we got the opportunity to do so. We can see that Joshy Chan and Snoodyboo have both put together pretty impressive losing streaks. Of course, remember that Snoodyboo is clear-minded, so they're going to be able to, save a lot of their money, which they'd otherwise be spending on units to upgrade.
Determined investor here as well.
Yeah, we're seeing Snooty now. Still hasn't really found, I think, clear direction for now. Just playing, a Volibear in there as well. Maybe going for Shimmer Skill, one away from that. Now finds a Deja, though. This is Dawnbringer's determination, but it is at least some kind of direction. If he's able to natural a few more Mirage units in the next few rolls, that could be the option for Snoodyboo to go down.
Jam the Hotch here. Like, I'm down to just jam the Hotch. Yeah, I'm down for this. The only downside I could see this potentially would be that dual Lotus is next to Augment and you wouldn't be able to immediately slam the IE, for example. But even then, I think this is more than fine. You have that nice little champion duplicator as well. So, like, you have a very strong position to spike in. Oh, well, Zbrojson casual Cavalier spat and a Deja, so, well...
This is always, disheartening to see because you just decide a direction and all of a sudden you face off a player that has the same direction but a much better angle for it with Electrocharge and with the cast spat for a future Yasuo as we get into the late game. So this might still be, well, no, actually, no, it's going to be a win for Zbrojson anyway. So Snooty not in the greatest of places right now.
Oh, I'm not completely convinced. We've got the heal, of course, to still to deal with to throw off our calculations, but it's real tight, and that means the loss streak is over. Now Snooty can't... Well, at least they've managed to hit the 50 gold, as they've got a chance now. Do they want to commit in for Mirage? They do!
David there with the reverse caster Jinx.
Exactly.
Jinx is the player that is not Spanish.
Thank you, Wida, for noticing. Not only TFT players can make 5,000 IQ plays, it's also casters. Snoodyboo, I'm trying to make him win here, so I say he's going to lose, and then he ends up winning anyway. That's how it works out here. We have just a little bit too much power, to be honest, as casters.
The fun thing to note here, right, is that with Clear Mind, free becomes an increment, becomes like a natural incremental level. Interval is the word I was looking for. Increment, interval. Well, not really the same word, but that is something you can keep an eye out for here, especially if another Mirage unit pops up, so you can activate that second healing.
So, guys, talk to me about this whole Mirage situation we find ourselves in. So, City decided to join the pack in with, as one of now 3 different Mirage players. I mean, is this going to mean that all of them are weaker, or is Mirage enough to support this volume of different players going for it?
Mostly the fact that you're not going to be able to hit Deja 2 very easily. The fact that Snooty is going to be level 8 faster with Clear Mind means that maybe he'll have better natural rolls or just better rolls overall once he has a gold after this next PvP round going to stage 4. But it's going to be up there. Obviously, I ideally want to be uncontested on the comp. With Mirage being as stable as it is in terms of top 4s in this current patch, I think it's unlikely. And in this case, we'll see who ends up hitting Deja 2 and who ends up hitting especially Yasuo 2. That's the real stabilizer going to stage 5.
Would you prefer to see him hold on to his duplicator than to hit the Yasuo 2 compared to hitting Deja 2? Do you think the Deja 2 spike is just that important?
Depends on the items. Depends what of the two. If you have more kind of Deja items or more Yasuo items. In the case of Zbrojson, for example, Yasuo 2 might matter more because he has cast span. That's just so relevant at just being almost unkillable until we reach those thresholds of damage in stage 5, for example.
Mirage shot from Slicks as well.
Yeah, this Mirage is absolutely freaking everywhere. And of course, we're in a relatively low power lobby. We didn't get the prize we've been hoping for, which is see, well, at least that some of us were hoping for. That we get to see the prismatics all over the place. But Skipaeus, we check back in with them again. So they've managed to just keep the win streak going all the way here to mid-stage 3. It doesn't look like they've got any real chance of giving that up anytime soon.
Another Cannoneer emblem as well. This time the good one, actually the silver version of it, which is no different to the gold one really, which is why you usually don't want to pick the gold version of this augment unless you're kind of forced to, unless you don't really have a better option, unless you're kind of trying to find some direction in stage 2. But this could be a good sign. 3 players going Mirage means more comps will be open for other players to play uncontested, and Cannoneers might be one of them.
Indeed, the carousel coming up. What are we looking for? Another spat open here. We've seen 2 spats in the carousel now. And with Mirage being Dawnbringer's determination, it's very easy to apply that to the rest of your board. So this is a very high priority spat coming through here.
Yeah, I mean, talking about having it as Mirage Spatula, as Cavalier Spatula as well. We can see that Zbrojson and Brubbba both have Spatulas there already. So for Zbrojson, that's a chance to put down a Tactician's Crown and just get more bodies on the field.
We're going to see now who is doing poorly in this lobby. We saw Skipaeus doing very well, but Joshy Chan not doing so hot now. Trainer TF3 is a comp that we've seen do very well once you reach that late game and you have everything set up, but also do very poorly, get an 8th or a 7th if you're not able to find a win streak start for it, which might be the position that Joshy Chan is in here. Is this board going to be stable enough to really survive all throughout stage 4? No real damage items on Tristana. 2 stars, yes, but is there going to be enough damage? You have the great tank in Silas, but everything else seems to be missing.
Well, I mean, I think you started to go into this already, but we haven't talked a ton about the trainers in depth. I kind of want to hear from you guys, with the trainer set 3 setup, which is still pretty new to the meta with the current buffs, or with the recent buffs to Nomsy, what does it do well, and what does it do poorly?
I think if you're building fully into trainer and Nomsy carry, that might be a mistake most of the time. I think it's a fun thing, but it's not really a thing you want to build. It just works well when you have trainer 3. You have mage, for example. You can play very strong units like Zoe and Silas and Siphon in that version of Cannoneers, for example, with just Corki as a carry. That's what worked well. That's what we saw in the last game, for example. That's what we see in the late game. When you're building full Nomsy, when you're building kind of mages that doesn't have Siphon or Silas, it's going to be much harder to actually top 4.
We can see certainly Joshy Chan with a ludicrously long loss streak.
Snooty.
That is a very good sign for him, and that means the other Mirage players are going to be in big trouble trying to find their Deja 2s as well.
Alright, so yes, with the Dejas coming in for lobby, this is something which to kind of come back from a little bit earlier on today. We did see, I believe it was Visor, who was playing, this really kind of not exactly open fort style, but a much more lost streak style. How do you guys feel about that? We've seen it work pretty well for Visor, but is it the right move in day 1 when you just need to hit top 4s?
I think it's not so much you can pick to lose streak or win streak. I think it just happens. You have to adapt to it and just try and find your outs and try and find your stable boards. But looking at this Olaf with Assassin Spat, not doing so hot. A pretty good protection on the backline there. Silas tanking enough. Diana by herself now. It's not going to be enough. Doesn't even be able to get the cast again, and that Silas just too tanky for this stage 3. All the items aren't on him, and it seems like there is enough damage around the sides to still win fights here.
Yeah, and this is actually pretty bad for Joshy Chan, I think, as weird as it might sound, right? If you've gotten a good loss here, like a 1-unit loss or so, you just take that streak and just carry it all the way through, right? As we see Zbrojson here, he's level 7, he's still lose streaking, so he's still going to get a lot of gold. Skipaeus now, on this Cannoneer thing, he's still 100 streaking, so this Cannoneer setup has been going mighty fine for him, one would say, so far at least. So where does this Cannoneer emblem go once we start to approach into more of a finalized build here?
I mean,
I'm guessing Siphon is the only real other kind of attack damage here that can really make any use of it, but it's not going to be a transformative emblem. It's not like a Revel Deja. It's not an emblem that anyone ever kind of builds around. It's just an extra Cannoneer, plus everything else you just put on whoever kind of needs it. It was Heimer back in the day when you just had to put it in on anything when you were playing the full Cannoneer comp. In this case, probably Siphon will be the best carrier, unless you have 3 good Siphon items, which maybe you just want to prefer to have him with BT and Resolve and just the overall better Siphon items in this case.
So, guys, talk to me. Skipaeus, they're on their win streak right now. They've got a ton of Cannoneers. They've got a ton of money. Pretty much everything is looking good for them. What kind of comp can deal with this level of power?
We've seen Jade in the last game that did perfectly well. I mean, it really is, Mirage, especially when Snooty hits that Deja 2. We're going to see what he looks like right now because he has stabilized. He is now in the middle of the pack. So it really depends where the Siphon is going and what kind of comps people are playing with backline carries, for example. We're going to see here the Siphon goes into that Corki Sona pocket. Luckily not the case. Noms, oh, never mind. Caster Curse comes in. And now Siphon applying Frozen Heart and also chomping down the 2 damage carries, but it looks like it's not quite enough.
Ooh.
Corki will survive, but still, Skipaeus continues his win streak. Shades of game 1 with Gluteus actually getting a 12 win streak. Skipaeus trying to tie that here.
I mean, those two kind of went hand in hand when they qualified for the same championship as well, right? So that would be, trying to one-up each other would be very on brand here. Speaking of championship players, Zyko, right now in 3rd place in the lobby here, and now we have a final augment. Has True 2s, has Pandora's items. We'll be looking for a combat option right now, and there are 3 on our screens.
Dan United would have been ideal for any kind of Cannoneer comp. In this case, Celestial Blessing with the Yone, I think possibly better with him as a carry right now, but definitely San United would have been an insta-pick for any other Cannoneer player, despite the actual nerf that it would receive in the last patch, because it was performing just so well with any kind of Cannoneer build.
What I want to pitch to you guys now is trying to figure out where Zyko is going, because this all looks somewhat temporary. With the current item holder we've got for the Yone. Could this be another attempt at a Whispers comp?
That's a good question. We see so many options on the bench, actually. I'm also not entirely sure where he's going. He's just playing strongest board for now, but seems to be doing okay. Definitely, hasn't lost too much HP just yet, but has Celestial Blessing doesn't really lock him into a specific comp, and it's hard to tell. He has the Jade angle, he has possibly a Silas coming in for Whispers, he has maybe not the Still Scorn angle. I think it's a little bit too late for that with the Lilia pair there, but has over 50 gold, so doesn't have to sell anything just yet, and just keeping his options open.
He has a Volibear angle. No joke.
Like 5 different angles here.
Yeah, but the Volibear angle actually works, right? Because there's a glove right now still to stock while he's rerolling 2 swords, so he's not wanting to make an IE, right? Which would be IE, BT, Rage Space, Siphon, which is pretty okay. He's holding a Volibear on the bench. I am not saying that he's gonna play Volibear, but he's also holding an Ashe. I'm just saying that there's a chance, okay? That's all I'm saying.
I want that chance to be real, absolutely. I want to see a big old bear drop into the field, but for Alpha, to check in with them, you can see that the field is pretty split right now. We've got Skipaeus and Slick up the top, both on win streaks, both very healthy indeed. And then you look below, and Snoody has a massively small amount of health, as does everybody else in the lobby. That separation is ludicrous.
And a pretty repetitive lobby actually here. I think quite a few players on Cannoneers, quite a few players on Mirages, one Skill Scorn player, and one player that doesn't really know where he's going just yet that we saw recently there with Zyko. But in this case, Brubbba definitely had a clear direction from the beginning and stuck to it. Skill Scorn, Olaf, RFC being built here. We'll see if it'll be enough. It looks like in this case, because as we mentioned, the weak backline, the 1-star backline is going to be insta-killed by things like Assassin Lilia, Assassin Olaf. It won't just be enough. You're going to take a big HP loss here, which we were talking about with Skill Scorn. This is the scariest thing, is the stage 3 and stage 4 losses that most players will get simply because of Assassins and how it works.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's also something that's worth noting as the reason why this comp is currently pretty strong as it is, because if a lot of people are playing Corki and they're not playing with a lot of backline protection, that just means that goes up in stocks here. So does Nunu, but he's not going to be able to win this fight. Zbrojson, just the worst Asia player, it seems. Snoodyboo, 8 Mirage, he's just big chilling right now. Like, he is, so stable right here.
Yasuo in the carousel.
Oh boy. Well, that's amazing news for our lower health players. So Zbrojson's going to be the one who picks it up there. Definitely needs it down to sub 30 HP. Again, as we noted in this game, this is a passage for the players who finish highly, pretty much out of having to worry about the last game. For our players that finish low, particularly ones who finish in 8th, they've got real possibility of not even making it to day 2 at all.
We're going to see now what are going to be the final item builds going into this stage, almost into stage 5. The JG for Snoody is what I was expecting with the glove that was open and the rod picked up on Carousel. Fully itemized Deja 2, 8 Mirage. I mean, you're missing a combat augment, sure, with a clear mind because you use it instead to kind of force your way into a much higher level very quickly. Find a Yasuo naturally, slot that in for Zyko as well. Yasuo just a unit that just can fit into any comp. We saw why in the last game as well.
This is weird because he skipped the Shio-Yo. I think this is if someone well, there's a Volibear in the front line. Is this a Volibear? Like, is he actually playing Volibear?
Legend 3, Zyko is definitely doing interesting things here. He is level 8. He still has 40 gold to work with, so he has gold to still roll down and try and finalize this board.
Yeah, no Dragon Dancer yet as well. I think that is a big one. Again, it is a pretty hard transition to pull off because when you play Volibear, normally you play it organically, right? You hit Volibear, 1 or 2 Volibears earlier on, but here right here you can see that this is actually not even that horrible when you consider the fact that Slick's board has been streaking for such a long time here. It's not going to be a loss. It's going to be the end of the world. This Yasuo obviously being a massive help for that, but yeah, this is not ideal. You're missing that. I think that's going to be the Ashe or the Karma for the Jade and for the all the good stuff here, but at least I called the correct transition.
It's a very dangerous position to be in, though, for Zyko when you don't have clear direction. You're losing HP. You're on a 6 loss streak. It's very difficult right now. It's probably the most pivotal moment in the game for him, for sure. Has to roll down. Has to settle on something. Has to disregard all other distractions and actually pick one comp and try and get these upgrades and try and actually stabilize his board before we go into stage 5.
It doesn't end up finding too much of anything. The Volibear, at least this time, Volibear is actually going to end up eating something, so they'll be a little bit tanky. But against the Zbrojson, we saw now with a Cavalier Yasuo to come out at full strength. It feels like Zyko is running out of time.
And these are the worst games of TFT. when you feel dizzy, you know you're not doing things properly, but you're not able to actually find the solution. You're not able to actually find that peace of mind to actually, if you lose with a strong board, it is what it is. You did your best, but in this case, it does feel, I think, doubly worse if you can't really play your strongest board because you have so many different options. You're a little bit dizzy in that case. And another big loss for Zyko, down to 8 HP.
Can run it back here. It's a bit of a... Like, the big issue, right, is that this is actually going to be a Diamond Hands lobby, and Volibear can tend to struggle with Diamond Hands if it's on the front line, so that's just something that we need to keep an eye out for.
Alright, so we come to our treasure dragon. Always try to remember if it's a goblin or any other kind of thing, but I'm pretty sure we're clear, at least for the time being. So from what you guys have seen so far, with Skipaeus finally losing out on the win streak, who are you liking in this lobby to come out of it as one of our top players who will be safe going into tomorrow?
I think not Akthealpha, to be honest. This is a very generic Cannoneer comp. He does have Stand United, which, like I mentioned before, is very, very good, but he's still level 7. Going to stage 5 doesn't have that much gold to work with either, and this is the case where you would like to have... I guess Sona is an okay third damage carrier, but we'll see if it'll be enough. He has to find the upgrades for sure on the Lulu, on the Sona especially, and I guess you can just use a duplicator there. But not level 8 still, and ideally you find a Bard. That's what would really help with Stand United as well.
Alright, see Zyko is going to spend everything. They're on a 7 streak and on very low health, so keep it close on them. They have ultimately left in the Volibear to try their best. They've got a decent setup here with Anivia and the up on the front line to get a little bit more attack speed. Every last penny being put into this round. Do you guys think that Zyko can hold on?
Finally, he has the correct positioning and the correct comp. We'll see if it'll be enough, though. I'm not very familiar with Legend as a comp myself. I haven't played it. I just, too complicated for me. I just steered away the entire set. But we'll see if Zyko has it figured out and if he's able to survive, because he is on 10 HP going to the stage 5. And it's not looking great here. This Ida seems to be unkillable for Volibear, just entirely stuck here. And Corki will just fire away, and I think will eventually kill this Volibear before he can do too much damage.
Well, I'm not walking around. Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate part of things. So Zyko, desperation set in, and even that couldn't keep them from being knocked out in 8th. So we keep a very close eye on them going forward, because they're very, very possible. This may be the last day we see them.
What do you think about this position, Wida? No angle really for 3 stars with the gold you see here on the Olaf or the Diana, instead going for a 6 assassin variation of skill scoring instead, so not really going too far into skill scoring. Do you think this is still fine to top 4, or do you think this might be Brubba's last fight?
This could top 4 depending on how to look at the rest of the lobby, right? I think the big kickback here is the fact that it's Dawnbringers, right? So it's much harder to really kill a backliner like the Daisha, for example, right? No Runans is also a bit of an issue because it means that you're not going to be able to hit multiple targets at once, and you're just going to die like this. So this Corki is just untouched for now, at least.
Yeah, the Diamond Hands as well, the final insult to any assassin player. But still, I just soaking up all the damage all the time. Brubbba, that's going to be disappointing.
Has to feel very rewarding for Akthealpha. Your units are doing exactly what they have to do. Ida's fully surrounded, being the tank that he's supposed to be, and Corki untouched in the back row, just dealing damage by himself, without being in any danger at this point. So Brubbba also taken out, unfortunately. I mentioned at the very start of the game, with Olaf, if you commit to it, and for some reason you don't really find the extra Olafs, you don't go for the Olaf 3, it can be kind of a 1st or 8th kind of playstyle in this patch.
They turn against them. We check in with Alpha. So they, yes, as you said, they managed to hold on as best they can. They've got the Sona, the Corki, feeling pretty secure on the back line. Zbrojson, we saw picking up the Yasuo from before, is the only one win streak right now, as Skipaeus has been brought down from their perch. Let's see what Zbrojson's got for us. Notably, they don't have the Deja 2 as of yet, and maybe they won't.
That's the biggest thing to look out for here. No gold to roll with either. Has already rolled it down. Has already had to hit that emergency button trying to find Yasuo 2 and Deja 2. He is one off on both of those. So if he gets a few lucky natural shops, he might be able to really get even stronger despite being on a win streak now. So it's not all, a bad sign here for Zbrojson.
He also has very good augments, right? Electro Charge, Celestial Blessing, and Best Friends are very, very good augments for Deja. It's just a hard matchup to really chew through with the way the positioning coming through from AK, right? He's spreading out very nice, so he's not going to get any of his carries set double. What are you oohing at here?
The Bard for Akthealpha is a very good one. Not just because Bard is good, but because he's so much better with Stand United. He gives you so much extra traits. He works so well with Cannoneers as a whole. So if there's any one unit upgrade that he could have gotten on this carousel, Bard is definitely it. And he's in a position where he has to stay alive here. He's at 11 HP.
Yeah, Joshy Chan is very much an eliminatable position. We've got a big separation between our top 3 and our bottom 3. So for our bottom 3, yeah, but I have to imagine that they've got their eyes mostly on each other to try and see if they can knock each other out and secure at least the top 4 space.
What are you making of this positioning, David?
There is a Thresh. We saw it on Akthealpha. He was running a Thresh, so just making sure that the Deja doesn't just get immediately kind of stunned and locked and kind of moved out of position as well, especially depending on what comps you're facing, can be very, very dangerous in this case. But Snooty going for the fast 9, has clear mind, still very healthy thanks to that early Deja 2 you mentioned in stage 3, and it looks really good for Snooty, to be honest.
All right, we see Skipaeus again. They've dropped a fair amount from where they were before, which is mostly undefeated. They've got the dragons charging into the backline. The Diamond Hands does a lot of work to keep Corki alive, but not until the end. So the dance of dragons will ultimately lead up with Siphon managing to survive to pretty much the end. It's going to be a little tight here. The cast is just not there for Alpha, and they will take themselves out in 6th.
Challenger AI on that Siphon just immediately propels himself right into the Corki corner as soon as this fight starts off. And the main damage carry was taken down for Akthealpha. So despite Stand United, despite that Bard pickup, not enough, goes out in 6th.
All right, with our top 5 remaining again, remember, these players are fighting to make sure they stay in as we cut the field in half tomorrow. You can see Snoodyboo, though, economically, nearly everybody else has spent down to the bone. Only Snooty gets to be up there with 66 gold. I'm presumably looking towards level 9.
And this is the fight that Snooty wants to win more than others because he wants to eliminate his other Mirage players just to make sure he can hit all his upgrades when he is level 9 here. Playing off against Slicks, Zbrojson also on Mirage. We'll see which Deja is superior in this case. Both players very, very healthy. Looks like it might be pretty close here. But Snooty's Deja is now surrounded and going to be killed off by the Yasuo as well. So Snooty now has to decide, has to try and find a spike here to stay alive.
Gets time though, right? Because we're going into the PvE round. That's going to be a triple item. One of the kind as well here. Do you think Snooty is happy with this? Because I feel like a little extra gold here wouldn't hurt him, but I feel like 2 extra items are probably going to be better for him.
And Mirage has enough carries that you can kind of, still put items on Yasuo, still put items on the Nunu, for example, if you're able to get maybe a 3-star 3-star Nunu angle, for example. So I think if there are comps that can not really utilize kind of a 3rd item carrier as well as Mirage can. So it's not the end of the world here for Snooty.
So for you guys,
items, right?
Yes, well, the blue buff is now on the Yasuo. I guess to a kind of larger point here, what does it do to lobby to have these kind of 3-item treasure goblins coming in? Is that favoring players who are ahead or players who are behind?
It depends on the comps. Depends on who is kind of missing slots in their main carries. But incredibly fast rolls here from Snooty. Finds so many different options. Finds the Talent 2. Opts not to go for it. Finds the Bard 2 instead. Very proficient mechanics here from Snooty on the big stage.
Yeah, very good APM here, Ryan. That's important when you have a clear mind about what you want to do and not even punting it out here. When he's just clear set on what he wants to do here, clear bench, clear mind, he needs his Mirage upgrades here, can sever away the front line. This is a very good fight setup here for Snoodyboo.
And normally the Siphon's able to absorb a ton of attention early on. At least by the time it comes back down, it's keeping Deja busy. Double Titans of the Warmarks makes this a very, very hard dragon to put down. Snooty is going to take themselves a big old L and get knocked out in 5th after such a good game.
Well, I just cast a curse. I guess it equals out at the end of the day. Casters give it and casters take it away. David?
I think Snooty was not expecting that much damage and that big of a loss against Joshy Chan. Joshy Chan did have Stand United. We talked about it so much today. It's one of the, all throughout the set, if I see Stand United, I just insta-force Cannoneers because of how strong that comp works with both AD and AP, with Corki's ult, and it's just Corki's natural Cannoneer trait. But wow, what an explosive loss there, and so unfortunate for Snooty.
And then again, when the entire lobby is balancing on the edge here, right? This is your second to last chance to ensure that you are going to be making it to day 2. And when you go out in such a fashion like that, when you did everything you could to stay alive, that is going to sting a lot, man.
And I think the biggest reason for that was the fact that he played so greedy, going fast 9, losing a lot of HP throughout stage 5, and then in the end, just one big loss ended up knocking him out. And Zbrojson and Slicks, the 2 other Mirage players, are the ones that are going to top 4 instead.
This is what I was kind of talking about before. That our players playing you a high risk, high reward here in day 1 can cost them extremely dearly, as we do see some nice knock-up action from the Yasuo, keeping Deja from being focused and allowing Nunu to wreak havoc on the backline. Zbrojson is in a pretty good spot now to challenge at least for top 3.
Nunu numbed away 3 backline units that were upgraded right now. I just want to highlight that for a second.
Doing his best Siphon cosplay. You know, he also wants to be a big threat that players have to be scared of going into this stage 6.
Well, I mean, we are looking at a 5 Cavalier board for Zbrojson and the Archangels on the Nunu, so definitely is a pretty major threat. Joshy Chan knows they're going to be going up against Zbrojson next, so we will find out who's going to make 3rd place.
The Zoe upgrade would be ideal with how strong Zoe becomes in the late game with all her different ults and the CC and even the damage and the Morello application as well with the laser ult. But Siphon, the star of the show, it looks like here with Sona as well, able to get the kind of 2 cross sections with Sona on one diagonal and Zoe on the other. Good positioning here from Joshy Chan. Whoever loses this fight is probably out of contention to win this lobby. Siphon doing a lot, but will it be enough against Cap's Fat Yasuo?
Oh boy, the crossfire, as you said, is pretty damn good here from Joshy Chan. Zbrojson, despite their international success, will head out in 4th here. Still a decent finish, but not the one that I would have liked. Joshy doing an amazing job of holding on, and now Skipaeus is down to 6 HP as well.
This accelerator has just scammed so much HP this game, by the way. This is a 2-1 metabolic accelerator, and Joshy Chan is still alive. It's at 6-4. Like, this is the power of metabolic. We haven't spoken too much about metabolic. I don't think we've spoken enough about metabolic in general overall throughout this entire set. It was very good last set. Then there was a thing where it didn't no longer gave HP back on neutral round, stuff like that. That's fine. But the augment is still very, very, very strong.
And we have here the final Mirage player. We talked about Snoody and Zbrojson all game long, but in the end, it is Slicks who ends up coming out on top with his version of Mirage now sitting at 40 HP and a win streak as well. So looking like going to be the victor of this lobby with how little HP both Joshy Chan and Skipaeus have. Some amount of fight RNG means they'll be knocked out with just 1 loss here.
Well, we'll find out who's going to come in second at least, as Slick is going to be facing off against their Ghost. We do have our good friend Siphon dashing right into the backline to kill off the Corki, which means most of the teeth is gone from Skipaeus' comp just as quickly as that.
KO ult into Janna ulti like that, despite the Zoe having to walk off because of the Edge of Night. There is just absolutely game breaking there for Joshy Chan, who is looking like he might be with a shot of winning the entire lobby despite being on the outer skirts of it throughout the entirety of it.
We'll see if that's the case, though. Slicks still won that last fight as well. Now a 5 win streak for him. Angling towards a level 9, it looks like in this case, but also has a chance for a 2-star Yasuo. Guido, what kind of direction do you go for? I guess you have enough HP to really have that buffer to say, I'm going to go 9 and find Yasuo too when I get there?
Well, Slicks thinks otherwise. He's just going to try to go for the maximum amount of spiking he can at the last second possible, it seems. I think we've been okay to wait for a turn, right? Again, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong in doing this. I would have liked to go for more stable, more stable. Anyway, good hook here onto the Sona though.
Yeah, the Sona is going to have to work really hard to make it through this one, because she has just been blown to pieces. Unfortunately, Deja is just proving to be a little bit too tough. The Nunu 3 in the middle of that scrum, doing a ton of work as well. It just doesn't seem like Joshy Chan has got anything that can deal with this level of obscene power.
Siphon still alive with very little HP, but finally gets taken down. It's going to be the Nunu still continuing to chomp. Oh no, this Nunu is actually a better version of Siphon. It looks like Joshy Chan in the end going to get taken out. Slicks, Sweden on top. My nationality, of course, very happy to see him winning out this game 5. And I mentioned it, this is a player that I saw 4 or 5 years ago on a completely different auto battler. Had forgotten